Hello, my friends. Here we are on my very stripped down Windows 10 desktop. You can see I'm recording with Open Broadcast Studio. The few icons of things I have running here are hidden, and everything else is, just not displaying, right? Nothing shows here except what I'm running. And then it becomes a way to switch between what I'm running. And these get immediately covered by whatever I click. And I put one on each screen with a specific thing on screen 1, 2, and 3. On screen 1 goes the Linux shell. And that is command line interface for Linux, which is easily installed on Windows now. We'll be getting to that because this is so important for a bunch of stuff I'm going to do with you in the coming videos. So I hit all for my shortcut for loading up all my various all my various journals, right? I'm always editing journals. I'm doing daily journaling with two main journals, my public one, which ends up on my website, this one here, and a private one, which, is just me thinking through things to myself. So there's a few others in the mix, but those are the two main that I'm always doing. And there you go. It starts out in my journal. And line count wrong. I've been doing a bunch of Git things too. So I'll get rid of that. That's fine. And this is where I would start doing, whatever I need to talk about for the day. And screen 2 becomes Jupyter Lab. And you might think this is a Jupyter Lab that was installed through Anaconda or Jupyter desktop installer, but it's not. This is actually running on Linux in the background, right? So here's an untitled. We can do our hello world there. We did a hello world here in the journal, just typing it in Vim. We can type print hello world. That's the classic hello world in Python, but being here in Jupyter, you can not even hit the shift key. Single quote. Closing single quote. That's hello world too. And Jupyter Python supports one of the easiest hello worlds in all programming. Congratulations, you're a programmer. So if you've been watching stuff lately, like the ChatGPT 4 announcement, you see them copying and pasting code in Jupyter all the time. So I'm going to teach you how to do that so that it's actually back-ended by Linux, right? There's a very important concept going on here in that it's really Linux Python that's running these hello worlds. It's different from a native install, and it's very important to do this to create Linux as your great interoperable layer into future-proof and to make yourself, resistant to obsolescence over the years, because all this desktop proprietary stuff changes. The details of the browser, the details of your proprietary operating system, but the details of Linux in non-graphics mode basically never changes. The API is stable. It'll last you forever. Using software like this Vim text editor is a skill for life, unlike VS Code, TextEdit, Sublime, Notepad++, PFE, Cygnus Edit. Going back in time, you always have to relearn your text editors whenever the current favorite crashes. So crashes industry-wise. So I am going to just get this third screen going. On the third screen goes Edge. And I'm going to make my point just real quick here. I changed my default new page to Google. It was very noisy. Anyone who's been following me knows that I have yielded to Microsoft on almost every point in my default setup in order to get, what do we call it? In order to get Bing, the new Bing. So I've been sort of rolling that back quite a bit, and you'll see that noisy screen again when I make a new tab here. So even when you change your home screen, Microsoft's trying to pull one over on you, right? This search here might be a Google search, but everything after that is going to be accidentally a Bing search. So we want to change this. You can't get rid of this guy here. This, I think, which is always going to default to a Bing search, is the one thing you can't get rid of, but we can get rid of all this noise. So if you're stuck with a default setup, you can go layout, and I think it's focused. There we go. That gets rid of most stuff. There's a few links down here that still have to go. Feed view, no, content off. That's what we want, content off. And there we go. That's what we want. This is the nice clean view. So from the beginning now on screen 3, because you remember you've got 7 screens I normally keep active, and I put fixed apps on screen 1, screen 2, and screen 3. So on screen 3 now, I open up. I now have Google, and I can immediately do a cursor's pointed correctly, so I can go Snowflake. Now watch what happened, and it's Google search, traditional Google search, very minimal now, especially with the eyes, with the habits, the expectations I've now been developing. I open a new tab, and I type Snowflake. And that would trigger off a Bing search. I know that because of that. But if you're going fast and you have changed your default search to Google, if you've gone into settings, change your default search to Google, and you open a new tab and start doing stuff fast, your cursor is going to end up over here. And if you search in there, kicks off the Bing experience. This is what Microsoft is trying to get to occur in your life. They want you to see Bing responding, and they're trying to entice you in. And so chat can begin here by expanding this. And you could say, let's chat. Chat can also begin by clicking it here. And oftentimes they have it down here where you can type in a question. I'd also like to show you.
Snowflake supports various data types and formats, such as structured, semi-structured,
slideshow right on the search results. Compare that to this. So my next step is clearly going to be to create a screen snapshot app to compare a benchmark of what's going on here and here. I might even rig it to record video so that you can see this get typed out and whatever animated things, and just store it in a few different ways. Throw it in an email so it's readable directly in the email. Maybe throw in some zipped backup data like the DOM that was in the browser, or whatever. So, and that's what I wanted to show you. Bing, the new Bing, continues to work, even though I'm starting to roll back some of the recommended defaults that were set by Microsoft as a precondition to be shortlisted on the new Bing waiting list. Those days are over, so I start rolling back the privacy violating and terrible signal to noise ratio concessions that I had made to Google to be an early adopter. So that's the end of this video. It's safe to start rolling back features. And in fact, I'll shut that out and see what happens if I go to Chrome, go to bing.com on Chrome. First, does it know it's me? It doesn't. Let's see if we can use the new Bing without signing in. Yeah, it's only available from the Windows taskbar. Join the waiting list, but maybe if I log in with my Microsoft email, it'll know. So pause and stay signed in. Yeah, why not? And now we are logged in as me, but on Chrome. And look, it's saying open Microsoft Edge. If I type, can I go to Bing? Is using the new Bing no? Look there. The question is whether using Edge is a prerequisite of the new Bing. You now have access. Chat now. Let's chat now. Look at that. Open Microsoft Edge, question mark. You can, it appears, it started like you could, but this is one of the many roads, one of the many paths, one of the many funnels, one of the many, being corralled by the might that is Microsoft into Edge so that you can use the new Bing. They're trying to get you off of Google. They're blocking you from using their own product if you're on someone else's browser. I suppose it's their right, and this is safer to block their own product on a competitor's product than to block a competitor's product on their own product, right? No one's going to call them out for antitrust over this because, browser wars. This is right up to the edge of propriety. So way to go, Microsoft. I think you're going to be successful in training people into some very new habits. And there you have it, a little bit of experimentation and a little bit of my preferred layout. So I'm going to show you how to pull this off on the Mac, on other desktops like Ubuntu, and just have generic skills for doing tech where most of your know-how is focused on your savviness in a command line, usually using Vim, your savviness in a web browser, usually using Jupyter Lab to run Python, and of course the browser itself, because you don't want to necessarily mix these two worlds, which you are kind of forced to do in an Anaconda install, and I help you get away from that. So you might be wondering when you run Jupyter where that little black box is that it normally forces you to keep open to have this running. You might say, well, isn't this it? Well, I can close this, right? I can just force it closed. And look, Jupyter's still running. There's my hello world running again. Jupyter is actually running, and it's running in Linux. So would you like to see that? We can open up a terminal. And I can type screen-ls to list the screens, and there is Jupyter running as a background task in GNU Screen, the open source, the FOSS terminal session server. And I'll tell you lots more about that in the future, but it's an invisible way of running things in the background on Linux, even though you don't see your Linux there at all, right? Look at that. It's running. It's in the background. Oh, there it is. It's not running. So you do have to keep a terminal open. Without a terminal at least open, and it was running before because it was my journal terminal, but it's not really running in those terminals. That is just a very strange requirement that Microsoft has made because systemd is running in the background there. And so I guess connection got broken from me opening and closing the terminal so much. So we'll close that, open it up again, and it should get its teeth back. No, it doesn't get its teeth back into localhost. So doing these little tricks like I was doing maybe stopped it from running or got it running in a different port. And we can take a look. Screen hyphen reattach to Jupyter, Jupyter. And yeah, it switched to port 889. So I can certainly get to it. And that was my own fault for the way I did this little demonstration. But as you can see, you understand what's going on and you control it. And with that level of control, you have a lot more power. How many of you have dealt with a mystery of little server windows that have forcibly had to stay open in order for something to run? Well, that's kind of the case here, but I guarantee you Microsoft is going to get rid of that requirement of having to keep a command line open for Linux services really to be running in the background. If they don't, they're going to lose a tremendous amount of credibility. This is just a conservative approach they're taking right now. So there you have it. Little tour, some few interesting things. Thanks for joining me. Hope to see you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe.